Welcome to the Bainbridge Development Board meeting, November 14th, 2022. This is a public, it would be an entire public session. There is no closed session during this meeting with us. Our purpose is to just give an update on where we are. As you can see from the posters on the left, there's a lot going up on. All of that's in phase one, which is the 447 acres. But I call the north 447, closest to the church up there. We'll get that. We have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Please signify approval by raising your right hand. Let me see if it works. If Joe's got his up there, thank you very much. We have two announcements today. Tony?
So first is the Donaldson Brown Christmas Candlelight. This is an event that's being hosted at Donaldson Brown this year. Sue Johnson had reached out to see if Bainbridge would be interested in participating. Basically, businesses are encouraged to sponsor a room and they can decorate it in whatever theme that they wish for the holidays, and they'll be doing a tour in December of that. Jen had the wonderful idea of doing a nautical theme as an ode to the Navy background, so we will be decorating the sitting room. Folks of you that are familiar with Donaldson Brown, when you enter, go over to the left, it's the room that's right there by the bathrooms. So we will be decorating that in a nautical theme on Friday. Thought it'd be an exciting, fun thing to do for the holiday time. So if anyone will be in the area, I believe it's December 3rd is when the tour night is, that folks can go through and see the holidays. And if you know any other businesses that would like to participate, decorating starts on Friday and then it goes through next week.
What's the extent of the BDC expense on this?
$300 to $400 is about what we've spent, and it's basically just all for holiday decorations, and then we can certainly bring those back to the office and decorate box every year for the holidays. We'll take pictures and send them to everyone in case you can't make it.
Okay, I'm gonna go back. I apologize. Didn't mind my manners. We're gonna introduce ourselves to you since you're so kind to be here. I want you to know who we are. I'd like to start with just who you are and who you represent, who nominated you to be on this. We'll start with Dr. Rudolph.
Dave Rudolph, Santa Port Deposit. Mario Canjemi, delegation.
Matt Roth, delegation. Carl Roberts, I'm the chair, and I'm the Cecil County Executive Branch appointment. And nomination.
Steve Cassard, formerly with Medco. I'm a consultant with Centerport Real Estate Advisors. Chick Ham, I'm a banker with PNC, and I'm a county.
Bill Sorensen, Economic Development, Cecil County.
Joe, would you introduce yourself, please?
I'm Joe Brandt, nominated by the town of Port Deposit, approved by the county council.
I believe those of you who are here know that Mayor Coos is an ex officio member. He's on the video today. Hey, Bob. And then Ruth is our attorney from the Maryland Attorney General's office, and he is on the screen as well. Okay, second announcement is at the last meeting, our annual meeting during the executive session, we discussed the parameters for negotiation. And we reached consensus, I think it's 7-1 or 8-1 vote, supporting those parameters. Those parameters have been submitted to Michael of MPPM. And with that, he asked a couple of clarifying questions. Okay, therefore, and as Tony likes to describe it, the ball's in his court. We have not heard anything. So that's an update on the negotiation for phase 2. Get a chance, welcome. And Executive Hornberger is an ex officio member of the board as well. We introduced ourselves with that. You had a chance to review the minutes, which Tony sent out at the end of last week. Are there any corrections to those minutes? Have a motion to approve? So moved. Second? Second. Okay, I have a motion. All in favor, raise your right hand, please. Thank you, it's unanimous. Mr. Ham is our treasurer, and you received the treasurer's report. Chip, you're up.
Okay, I'll talk to our spreadsheet that we usually speak to. Beginning with the balance sheet, this is as of the close of October. No material change in our financial condition since we last chatted. We have nearly $1.4 million in liquidity. The composition of that remains in CDs, money market accounts, operating accounts, et cetera. I think we're in a good place to continue to fund our ongoing operating expenses, at least for the next few months, without making any changes there. Our receivables of $386,000 have been submitted for payment to us through the ESCA arrangement, sufficient to cover the liabilities we've incurred there of $380,000. So the balance of that continues to look good. We continue to be careful about making sure we're incurring expenses that we don't have funds in hand to cover. The only other new news on the balance sheet is we do have this ongoing $92,000 liability with the state. We have had some very early conversations about figuring out who's the right contact to reach out to see if there's not some disposition of that we can work towards before we get any closer to this year's closure of our books. On a P&L basis, if you look in the center of that page for the month of October, we had almost no income, some minor interest income, and spent $23,000 on various parts of our operation. It was $34,000 favorable to the budget that had been submitted and approved. Much of that strong variance is attributed to timing. We had expenses that were incurred last month for that was the embankment, et cetera. So that has kind of evened itself out over the course of our year-to-date performance. Year-to-date performance is on the right-hand side there. You can see that our largest income, obviously, is the support payment that comes in from NTPM. We have $415,000 in revenue on a year-to-date basis, and we've spent $139,000 in change on operations. So as you look through all that detail, what you see is we are $28,000 favorable to what was originally budgeted. At the bottom of that page, Tony's put some new ratios on there for us to just kind of keep track of how we're doing against budget. In terms of expenditures, we have thus far this year spent 34% of the budget we had anticipated to be at 42%. So we are kind of in a good place and on our way to decent performance, I think, again, for another year. Under the ESCA column, you can see we've taken in $668,000, and consistent with our plan to make sure we've got cash. We've spent $668,000, so those accounts are also netting out on a very good basis. Any take any questions about that?
Darth Vader, do you have any questions?
Any questions for Chip, from board members at all? Okay, the treasurer has made a motion by delivering a report. We have a second. Second, thank you, Dr. Rudolph. Any questions for Chip? Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand, please. Thank you very much. Unanimous. Okay, we're now ready for our committee reports. Tone School, Joe Brand.
Yes, not much has happened since our last meeting. We are still waiting for certification of the contractor and the proposal from DGS. I think it's as simple as that. Tony, did I leave anything?
Just take them all.
Listen.
You don't have these things of excitement in your.
John.
Did you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay. Should I repeat everything I said?
No, you're okay. Go ahead.
Oh, cool. So that's my report.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tony, do you have anything to add? I know you and Joe have talked. Do you have anything to add?
No, there's no reason to think any concern in the review with DGS. They just have to approve our new contractor for the roof repair. And the once approved, it should take maybe 2 weeks.
Okay. And that, very good. Any questions for Joe, Constable report? Anybody? Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
And Mennel, you received a report, but we'll still ask Mario to make a report anyway. Mario?
Sure, we can be short and sweet. Waiting on NDE sign off on the railroad embankment culvert repair. The landfill monitoring, we actually did have some excitement. We were missing a gas well.
Sorry, I
So that
Miss Brandsick.
water line. Happened on the water line
Mute them.
installation. Happened on the water line installation, so now we're, have to get that replaced, which our team is working with MRP and Apex, who's our consultants, to take care of that. Alternative energy, not really a whole lot of change since, our last meeting. We'll regroup. We'll send some stuff out via email, get your input, take it from there.
Any questions for Mario on the environmental report? Thank you very much. Now we're going to go to the executive director report, and you'll see there's several items there. Phase 1, phase 2 infrastructure, and Senate Bill 541. Tony?
For phase 1, they have completed the slab pours for building B, which is the large building that's in the center of the property, about 1 million square feet. They have shifted back over to building C. They have completed 5 pours. There are 11 pours to go. They do the concrete work overnight just because of temperature and weather conditions. It's the easiest right now. They're going on a 16-hour schedule for that work because as we mentioned before, we've had a lot of wet weather that caused some delays, unforeseen, unexpected, uncontrollable delays within the project. They're continuing mass grading on building A, and they have started work on parcel D, building D, which was the last one that we pulled into. As has been mentioned before, there's a number of interested tenants. The developers are on site every week with folks that are interested. So we don't have anything to report openly, but there is a lot of tenant activity, and I know they've been working closely with the county and the state on prospective occupants as well.
Sure.
Questions for phase 1?
Any questions on phase 1? Okay. Phase 2?
We had a meeting with the Navy to discuss the conceptual planning for the phase 2 ESCA. We obviously have a lot of legwork that would need to be completed before we would get to an ESCA process within phase 2. They are in the process of completing the final sampling work that was needed for the activity-based sampling. Once that's finalized, the report will go to MDE and then review and approval by ADC as well. We don't expect there to be any concerns. All of the other data that has come back is completely in line with what was in phase 1, which showed no concern for human health or the environment. And then, as Carl mentioned, we're engaged in negotiations with the developer on the phase 2 agreement.
Questions, phase 2? Infrastructure.
Not much to report in terms of water, sewer, gas, or electric. As you are probably familiar and have seen, there's the preliminary start of work on 275 and 276. There was a minor discrepancy in the survey for the right of way on 276. So SHA is trying to remedy that issue and determine right now the permits and plans where it has the right of way extension for 276 shown as state highway. There's some issues in thinking that it actually entered into private property. So I know I've had folks reach out to the office and asking why are the barriers set up when work's not being done. And that's kind of where that issue came about. They're just trying to get that remedy before they put a state highway in private property.
Questions on infrastructure? So those of you who are attending, I'm sorry, but we talk about this every time, so we sort of know, it's just an update, but we know the background behind it. Is there else after the meeting, if you want to know more about it, we'll be glad to talk about it. Excuse me, Matt.
Yeah, Tony, is there a timeline when it comes down to a remedy for that?
So the issue was brought up last week. Some of the residents and the way that this came about was some of the residents in Misty Meadows had concerns in how the Jersey barriers were set up, that it was difficult staying pulling in and out. So as they adjusted it, they wanted to make sure they weren't encroaching on private property. And when they checked the surveys, they realized, these plans, different surveys are showing a different end line of private versus state, so they want to make sure that's remedied before they start looking into it. I'm sure MRP is trying to get a fast track on that, because the quicker they can get that resolved, the quicker they can get that work completed.
Anything else? SB 541.
So we are still engaged on the process with DNR on SB 541. I believe their goal is to have a final report to the General Assembly by December 1st. The committee did get a draft that's being internally reviewed, and then once there are comments and DNR finalized, then I believe that will be a public report that's published, but I'm not certain of that.
I'm sure. Well, it's not on the agenda, but Tony, could you go over and describe to everybody what we're looking at when you get the chart? Yeah.
Building, parcel D is not shown because of this, they hadn't really started a whole lot of work. So lot A, anyone that's been to the Bainbridge property, this is 276 where you enter in the offices. This will be building A. It's engineered to fit up to 1.8 million square feet, but depending on the tenant, that might be a little bit smaller with a little bit larger parking. So this will be at the top northern end of the site. This is the top of building B, which will run down along Bainbridge Boulevard, to be known as Commodore. That's what this building looks like. So this was the most recent of the slab pours on building B. Building C is over towards the eastern side of the property by the farm, I'm sorry. This is C. So this is the lot that was basically completed, and then lot C is where they have shifted focus over to at this point.
Okay.
Building A, 1.8 million square feet, building B, 1 million square feet, building C, 600,000 square feet. And example tenants, building A would be a Walmart, a Target. McCormick was an interested tenant. Building B, Wayfair has a building of that size in Aberdeen. Building C, North Face, Container Store, something of those nature. And then building D is around 400,000 square feet. So it's the smallest, but by no means a small building. And that's the building that's located right along 276.
If you have any questions, we'll lay it afterwards.
A, what was A? It was gonna be Walmart, Target, or whatever their name was.
Those are example of people often ask who needs a building that large. It's typically very large tenants like Walmart or Target or McCormick or Amazon.
Yeah, there's that.
Those are just tenants. No, those are examples of who uses
Soon as you
buildings
say
of
that,
size.
great. Now, yeah, yes.
Bottom, where's the bottom left? Is that the sediment on down the bottom?
So this would be Bainbridge Boulevard that runs down along the side, which would be this road.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the northern end of the building, and this is the southern end of the building. And when it circles up, this is building C. So this is this building right here.
Afterwards, I can show you a layout map.
Yeah.
I'll be glad to show you a site map where you can see the relationship on that. Thank you, Tony. Okay, now, board members are aware of the water damage that was incurred in our offices. We have this is an action item. There are renovation proposals. You've seen those, but Tony will explain.
Yes, so we've gone through the process with our insurance company and with the environmental contractor. Unfortunately, our claim was denied through insurance, which we had an indication it might be, mainly because part of a water damage or mold claim, you have to quantify the amount. They want to know when the damage was caused, to what extent, and given that it was within the walls, we couldn't really definitively, and we just took the buildings over last year, and it looks like that leak had been there for quite some time. And good news, the environmental report came back and there's nothing of concern in terms of airborne mold. It was all superficial mold that's typical for water or like water damage and so we don't have to do anything different. I wanted to make sure we didn't have any additional issues on hand before submitting the proposals. So Morgan Dane is the contractor that we recommended. He's a local contractor. That was a recommendation from our property maintenance contractor, and he is who did all of the repair and renovations to the marketing center, which looks fantastic. So, the costs are broken down. Now, the proposal you have for Morgan Dane shows a larger number than what is broken out here. The initial proposal was just for the installation of the conferencing center, and then once we found the water damage, then we got an updated proposal. So this one's not broken out, but we have the original numbers to show the variance. So the replacement, and the office has been completely gutted at this point, so all the flooring and all the walls, or all the drywall have been removed. So it'll be about $16,000 for a replacement of all the drywall and all the carpeting in the main area in both offices. If there was mold confirmed to be in all 3 locations. The renovations and installation of the new conferencing center is about $8,700. And then we have a local contractor, Hammett Technologies, who came in and they've been wonderful to work with, very extensive in all of the information, all of their recommendations. They've walked through everything with us. They were also a local recommendation. What we have proposed for what they have proposed for the conferencing center, is that the whole front wall would be a conferencing wall and we would have 2 large screen TVs. So that way we would be able to split screen and have a meeting on one side and documents on the other side. The conferencing center that they've recommended is a Logitech Rally Plus. And that was sent, the spec sheet was sent to everyone in case they wanted to go through it. But that allows the largest access of an office. Our office isn't extremely large, but at least it would allow all members to get picked up during discussions. It allows for multiple microphones, multiple focus points, so it can do a wide focus lens of the camera, or we could have it on speaker view that it would pan to whoever is talking at that time. And it's fully compatible and fit for Microsoft Teams. There was a change in cybersecurity and recommendations within the state and the federal government, and the Logitech system does comply with that, which was great. They actually knew about that before we did. We found out about it a few days after they gave us the proposal. So from a security standpoint, we are all set there, and they've actually built into their proposal training for Jen and I, so we can understand how to use the system, and also to have a tech on site for our first meeting in case we have any growing pains. And they're also, Hammett is a full service technology contractor, which is wonderful because we don't have an in-house IT person. And I think the past 6 months or so, we've learned how painful IT issues can be. So that's something that we're appreciative of, that is what they do. If Jen and I were getting ready for a meeting and something wasn't working, we'd be able to call them and have someone pick up and walk through whatever the problem is. So we're very optimistic that this will be a continued ongoing relationship, that hopefully they'll be able to provide our IT services moving forward.
Matt, I saw you shake your head, like in agreement with the, talking about the insurance. And, I'm, is that normal procedure?
It's normal, it has to be a pretty much right, in event, it can't be ongoing.
And there's no way for us to
Degradation
know on
of
the side.
scenery, so.
Okay, Dr. Rudolph?
Hammond, where are they from?
That's just, where's,
Not even.
Yes. Oh, I was thinking they were from Elton. They were a local recommendation.
Because if I could ask, my seat partner here, but just to clarify. We own the building.
We do not
We don't know the building.
own the building since it was transferred.
This has all occurred since the last, this has all occurred.
So the building is owned by who?
It is technically owned by MRP.
And they're not taking any responsibility for repair of the building?
Let me,
The ownership of the building was a topic of discussion during the transfer of phase one, and it was, a question between legal and title on, do the buildings transfer with the land, do they not, they're not technically permanent, are they considered personal property, because we received them for the bill of sale, and I think that topic fell to the wayside, given all of the other things we were dealing with. Obviously, MRP has always said that regardless whether we would keep buildings or not, we would be welcome to stay there. But our office is not needed for them to have their operations. MRP pays for all of the operating and utility costs for the trailer. They reimburse those every month. But, and when we discussed, what I mentioned to them about updating a conferencing center, MRP had indicated they would be willing to contribute to that cost because they will benefit from the use of the conferencing center. So I did send them these numbers and I'm waiting to hear back from them to what level they would wish to participate. But no, they won't take, in essence, responsibility for a building that they do not need.
Words, they could just say, fine.
Right.
Not gonna repair, we'll have it removed, and you can go somewhere else.
Right.
So. Because they don't need the building, but we do believe that they will participate, but we didn't have their commitment for this meeting tonight, which can be adjusted, we believe, because they will get used to the technology upgrades. They will use that, and it's being redundant, but what Tony already said, they pay all our utility costs.
One final question. Equipment that is gonna be placed in the building.
Mhm.
Will belong to
Easy.
the BDC.
It will belong to the BDC, and we're, because this has come about, we had originally discussed, we should have some form of lease agreement, whether it be MRP leasing, if we're keeping the buildings, MRP leasing theirs, if they're keeping the buildings, us leasing ours. So we are in the process in establishing just a simple lease agreement, so that way we don't have to worry about any questions and legal rights, what happens when the buildings need to be relocated. Right.
Okay, thank you. No problem.
I feel very confident that Reed Townsend, the principal with the MRP, will participate. Until this
Mhm.
happened. Every Tuesday, they used it because it was facilitated discussions from people from other places. And well, this will even be better. With that. The other thing is, they like the BDC having a presence there. Because BDC, there are certain things BDC has to approve of, be aware of. Especially since phase two is not yet transferred, it's still our property. I feel very confident that this will serve us well. And just like you approved a copier a couple of meetings ago, that copier belongs to us.
Mhm.
Are we leasing it? Okay.
Yes.
If we leave, it goes.
Right.
My only comment then, I don't have any concerns as it pertains to MRP and their, willingness to do right by us. But I think it probably is, it's not a problem until it's a problem. I think at this point, it's really probably a good idea to get things memorialized. and
Yes,
Signed.
absolutely agree.
How soon do you think we could get an answer from Reed?
This week, we'll have an answer from Reed this week about the proposal.
Does anybody have any questions about 1 and 2?
Just real quick, make sure Hannah doesn't charge us taxes.
Yes, I already told him that, yes.
Anybody else have any questions on this? Tony, would it be reasonable for us to approve 1 and 2 tonight and wait for you to respond to number 3? When they come back to the board, seeing as they've already been informed of it, we could do an email or a phone. Does that sound reasonable to
Are
people?
we allowed to do that via email or phone?
Ruth, are we allowed?
Because, there's a held start date of November 28th to start the work. So we would not have time to wait till the December board meeting, but we could certainly either poll via email. I don't know if if that's an answer for Ruth.
Knowing how difficult it is to get contractors scheduled right now, I'd say, yeah, we do what we can.
Contingent approval.
Ruth, the question is it? Are you looking at this, are you looking at this proposal? Do you have that in front of you? Excuse me?
I have it up.
Okay,
And-
you see the itemized costs of 1, 2, and 3?
Itemized blocks of 1, 2, and 3.
Right there. It's on the screen.
I cannot see it. I have it on my computer and hold on 1 second. It's the contractor's proposal, right, for the office?
Correct.
Hammond Technologies.
Mhm.
And it says in the middle of the page, contractor costs are broken down below, and then it has numbers 1, 2, and 3. Do you see that?
Group, we just need to know, can the board approve the contractor via email? If we're waiting to hear back from Reed, can we poll the board for all of their responses in writing?
Let me so Reed, he's gonna call from, he's
No,
gonna call,
Ruth,
yes,
Ruth, forget the question. Forget I asked the question, okay?
okay,
I want to withdraw the question. What I'm gonna recommend the board is we approve this, and then Tony will update this when she talks to Reed.
That's, yes, that was my thing.
Do I have a motion to approve, the renovation, the recommendations for office renovations as proposed in, with Morgan Dane Contracting and the purchase of Hammett Technologies, equipment? So moved. Have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a second. Now, additional questions.
So,
Go ahead.
I just would add the contingency that whatever we can get from our development partner, we get from our development partner.
agreed.
Okay.
That, with it being said, obviously doesn't have to be an emotion, though, we can just agree to the contract and then they, or, okay, correct?
You will be informed as soon as we know.
What they'll-
Informed, and then the dollar amount you addressed it this week. Dr. Riddle.
We are voting on 1, 2, and 3,
Yes.
Yes, sir.
and 3 comes in with 3 participating at the level. We're for 0, we're approving it as it's being presented to us.
Yeah, with the understanding that the amount that MRT pledges will be reduced from our costs. Mary, does that help? Okay. Any other questions? I know, I realize this is difficult, but I can't look at everybody. Jeff, are you okay?
Yeah.
Jeff, excuse me. Okay. All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you very much. Motion passed. Yeah. Tony, please get back to the board as soon as we learn from Reed on that. And we have full reason to believe that he will. He's very generous, and I believe that he will participate. Okay, this is time for public comment. Is there anybody from the public who'd like to leave a comment? Let's see.
Questions?
On here,
Huh?
say what?
Question.
How about questions?
Well, yeah, sure. Would you state your names?
Well, one of the big buggers when we started all this was the asbestos in the list.
Okay, we cannot.
One, excuse me, I said one of the big issues in the very beginning was asbestos issues with Cambridge. My point is that as you go, I can tell you living nearby. The dust and the dirt, it flies everywhere. Do you periodically monitor and asbestos contamination of properties in the area other than just Bainbridge itself? I mean, if the dirt's migrating, if it's asbestos, it's migrating too. The question is, I'm not complaining, I'm just asking the question. Is there any migration? And do you check?
So all of the asbestos removal was done during the ESPA process, and we had MDE and Navy staff on site. So anything of concern was dealt with, and we received the regulatory sign off from MDE in September of last year. Anything that's being done right now, there are dust mitigation efforts. We've got water tankers throughout that they do wetting, but in terms of health concern, there's nothing in the air that's of health concern, and we have to do personnel monitoring and air monitoring to confirm of that. I wish I could make the dust go away. I know it's certainly not, it's definitely a frustration, but from a health standpoint, there's no concern with any of the dust. It's no different than the dust that's in your backyard.
What's ESCA stand for?
Oh, I'm sorry, Environmental Services Cooperative Agreement. That was the contract that was executed with the Navy. And that was the whole reason that we went through and we did all of the investigation work and the response work first. So that way it could be dealt with in small manageable areas as opposed to mass grading. And you do have dust issues at that point.
I don't get the word is dust. I'm just.
Try.
Just asking about any migration.
Yep, there's no concern of any health or environmental issues with anything that is in the dust.
Anything else?
Yeah, on your lifetime work,
It's above ground.
well, if you don't have to listen to big people and all that. If you could minimize that, or,
This is,
well, I understand that's a schedule issue.
this is gonna sound like a bureaucratic response. But the 440 acres that's being developed doesn't belong to us anymore. So it's not ours. And that development is working under the approval of the town of Port Deposit. So we will relay your concerns, but we have no authority about when they do the work. We have no authority on that. And with that, and I'll show you a map afterwards. I told you I'd show you a site map. But we can certainly let them know, but we do not dictate when the developer can work.
I don't know the problem, it's an answer, it's a question I don't have an answer to. I just finished the question.
Oh, absolutely. And so, from the noise perspective, they are required to track the noise levels every night at the decibels, and they're within what's allowed in the current ordinance. There isn't parameters on lights, but they have reconfigured them to try and keep them pointed as far below. The beeping is something a lot of folks have complained about, but it is an OSHA safety requirement and they cannot turn them. And I know that is not the answer that you want to hear, but they are trying.
Here what the answer is, just need the answer.
Yeah.
Very good.
And my last question is relative. What about the fencing that runs along 276? Who do I ask about that?
That does have to be reinstalled. Do you have a concern for it not being there?
Yeah, it's a safety issue.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
So with the installation of the new water line, that fencing had to come down. But we are in the process of working with getting the gas probe reinstalled and then getting a fence line put back up along 276.
The issue is that so far this year, I've had 4 deer killed at the end of my driveway. I mean, it's a safety issue.
Completely agree.
The county will come pick up the dead deer, but I have to sweep up and clean up the car parts. It's getting old.
Right. And we're actually also in the process of working with DNR on a controlled hunt because there's concerns about the deer that have been migrating because of the construction on phase 1.
Okay.
Do you,
Go ahead.
well, I was gonna say, do you mind saying where your property is?
Right opposite the to settle bond.
Oh, right across from like parcel, the bottom of parcel D on 276.
Are you
Okay.
near Berlin Road?
Just down,
Just down towards Bull.
Okay,
first house, past Berlin.
okay. Just wanted to get my bearings. Yes, that's not a good spot for deer in general. And I know the fence line being down, it's probably not helped that. We have our projects call next week, so I can ask on an update on when the fence line will be reinstalled.
Well, I won't pick up the time.
No, please ask me any questions.
I'll say the issue is. you know, This goes to Granite Cliffs, with Vulcan. That farm is their private hunting land. You guys. Historically. Come and plug up the holes in the fence every year.
Mhm.
Those guys come. And pull the plugs off, so the deer fall to Granite Cliffs.
Mhm.
That's why there's so many accidents right there.
Okay,
You know, if you go above Berlin Road, you don't see any holes in the fence, and you go down toward the gully, the bridge there, that's where all the holes are.
Mhm.
It funnels the deer.
if when our meeting's over, if you could leave your name and contact information with Ms. Peterson right here,
Mhm.
she'll be back to you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
or either be.
For sure.
John.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
I
Yes,
have a
ma'am.
question. You can give it to me later, but
Is
I,
this always?
yeah,
I'm sorry, this is like.
Oh, we went to school together. Okay, we go way back. I'm
She's right
sorry.
over.
I need a phone number for the developer. And who is the developer?
We can get that for you.
Okay, 'cause I need to talk to them, because in the paper, it said that they were cooperative with people in the area. And I'd just like to talk to them.
We can figure out how to get them in touch with you.
Okay.
After the.
Yeah, okay,
Good to see you, Ellen.
yeah, good to see you.
Anything else? Yeah, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So
Second. Second, thank you very much. All in favor of adjournment, raise your right hand. Thank you very much. Sir.
Got me.